I've always been of the opinion that the Championship is one of the best leagues not only in the world but in FIFA. You've got the challenge of having so many teams with great history, great stadiums, great fans, and quite a bit of money actually floating around the league. And from the sounds of it, there's about to be a little bit more money floating around Yorkshire. Hull City have been linked with a takeover from Turkish millionaire Acun Ilicali. He's made millions through Turkish production company that he set up in 2004, and he's agreed a £30 million fee to buy Hull. In the Premier League, this couldn't even buy you a squad player anymore, but he's actually bought an entire football club. Ilicali has actually spoken already that he wants to bring in a bunch of Turkish players and coaching staff to Hull City. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in today's video. I think it would give you a pretty interesting challenge and not really one you can replicate with many other clubs in the league. So it's a good opportunity to get grips with the Championship, playing with a club that has a real stadium, and try and bring Hull back to the Premier League where their fans really do want to be. So let's have a look at some of the potential players that they can sign. I've put a SoFIFA team in the description, so if you prefer looking at it through that, go and click on that link and open me in a different tab so we can talk through it together. So this is basically a list of every single player that is both an EU national and also Turkish, or comes from England and has represented Turkey at some level. You've got people like Oztumer who have championship experience, who currently play in Turkey, 66 overall, would be a good option for Hull. You've also got some players that maybe you'll have to get to the Premier League before you sign them, people like Cenk Tosun and Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who both are way too good for the Championship. You've got some players with high potential, like Kaan, Ayhan and Mert Muldur at centre-back, who both you possibly could afford in the first season if you do sell a couple of your existing Hull players. If you look at the formation at the top of the SoFIFA page or on screen right now, you'll see that there's two options for every single position. Now, this is the realistic option at the top, and then possibly the upgrade in the second position. Personally, I think if you did totally recreate this squad, you would have, after a couple of seasons, a team that is more than capable of challenging for at least a Europa League spot. Of course, some of the players would be a bit old, people like Kazim Richards and Cenk Tosun, both in their 30s, but you've got very good young talent like the two previously mentioned centre-backs in Muldur and Ayhan, you've got a good midfielder in Emre Mor, and you've got some other players on the bench like Corekci, who's definitely going to end up at that sort of Europa League level. If we look at the actual Hull team, which I'll put on screen right now, next to this one that I've got with full of Turkish players, you can see that most of these players would actually be an upgrade. In defence, Bernard and Greaves are okay on FIFA, but of course you should probably go for at least Ozturk and Muldur, because they would both be a very good upgrade and help you to solidify your position in the Championship. At attacking midfield, George Honeyman is pretty good, but maybe you could replace him with Oztumer, although Oztumer could possibly also play as one of the two deeper midfielders. So I also recommend you sign him. So that's at least Muldur or Ozturk at centre-back and Oztumer at attacking midfield. Where else could you strengthen? Well, if you want to splash the cash, Emre Mor has always been good on FIFA. He used to have potential up in the 90s nearly, but however now he finds himself around 78 potential. He can play any of the positions on the right, from right mid, right wing and right striker, and he's got quite a lot of pace which would make him lethal on FIFA in the Championship against some of those slower defenders. His mid-80s pace would be lethal against almost any Championship defence. For example, the team I support, Nottingham Forest, has two good centre-backs in McKenna and Worrell, both having just 60 pace. I honestly think if you signed him in the Championship, you'd probably be able to get around 25 to 30 goals with him super easily, so I'd definitely go for Emre Mor as well. Further back in goal, Sinan Balat would definitely be an upgrade on Matt Ingham, but he is quite old at 32 years old. You'd probably be able to get him for around $1.5 million, so you might actually have to sell some of your existing squad to try and fund this move, because Hull do actually only start off with a 3.4 million transfer budget. Some of their players do have quite a lot of potential off the bat already though. Keane Lewis Potter on the left midfield has around 78 potential. Deshaun Bernard at right centre back has 80 potential. On the bench they have players like Matt Smith with 77 potential and Brian Longman with 76 potential. Out on loan, James Scott has 74 potential, so there is quite a lot of talent already in this whole team that's ready to be implemented and improved with some of their new owner's Turkish players that he wants to sign. One final thing before we end the video is a suggestion of some of the managers that you can retire. Well, there's two old Turkish players, Arda Turan and Mehmet Topal, who both have real faces on FIFA. So if you retire one of these by moving them to a top championship club, you might be offered the Hull City job when you retire. By doing this, you are doing what the chairman says he wants to do by bringing in some Turkish staff. Obviously, Arda Turan has the higher reputation, and you could possibly try and implement one of the styles of the teams that he's played at in the past. Of course, Arda Turan was actually one of the standout players for Diego Simeone's first 4 seasons, so you could maybe try and implement Diego Simeone's style of football, which is of course hard defence and counter-attacking quickly into the championship, which I think would suit the players that I've got on this list. While at Barcelona, he played under Luis Enrique and Ernesto Valverde, so if you can implement either of their style of football, then again, maybe go for this. That's why I think Arda Turan would be a good player. Simply move him to someone like West Brom, create a new player career mode, and start as Arda Turan at West Brom. If you instantly retire, you will get job offers, and that's exactly what you're going to do to take over Hull City with Arda Turan and try and implement a Turkish dynasty to the club. One small thing that you might want to consider is to try and do a youth academy where you're going to find some Turkish players. Of course, Turkey is the best place to do this by far, but you might also get some Turkish player names by scouting Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and Denmark, where they all have a couple of Turkish players in their name pool list. But anyway, that's all we have for today's video. If you're a Hull fan or if you're Turkish, let me know how realistic you think any of this is. And if you've got any suggestions for players you can retire or players you can sign with Hull City that would implement the Turkish style of football that Acun Ilicali wants to do, then please do let us know in the comments and check them out if you are interested in doing a save like this. Thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the championship and hopefully you don't beat Nottingham Forest too badly. Thank you for watching and goodbye.